At what point did you start to consider taking over the company? Because since you've taken over, you've grown it 4 times, and you've implemented a lot of changes. Which hearing that your father was an operations guy to me is surprising that you were able to go in and improve it even more. So when did you start to really think like an owner or look at the prospect of taking over?
So he was an operational guy, but as he bought the business, he only had one other guy to really help him with the finance side of it. So as the business was growing naturally, he was getting pulled in the office more, had more meetings, was doing, whether it was healthcare or insurance renewals or, just looking at his financials. We had to price out customers. He had a big customer base. It was not allowing him to be outside. So somebody had to take that role, and that was me that took it. And so as I started getting that, I'd get things lined up. I'd start running in the office and sitting down with him. And, he taught me a lot by doing that. And I guess it got to a point around 2008 or nine. We fired up the second facility. It was around 2002 after we bought the original place down in Rolla, Missouri, which is about, 2 hours south of where we're at. And it's strategically located right between Springfield, Missouri and St. Louis, Missouri. And so it's a good hub right there. We got that one fired up, and it was just always hard to manage because we couldn't find the right people to run it. And so we were constantly having to go down there. And I wasn't down there a whole lot since I was running the ops up in our St. Peter's location, the big yard. But it got to the point where the guy that was running it ran it completely out of cash, like we let it go too far. And so we're sitting down with our CPAs one day, and they're like, guys, what are you going to do with this thing? It's costing you money at this point. And my dad and his general manager are like, we're just going to shut it down. We don't have the effort, or we don't have the energy to go down there and keep this thing going. I'm like, there's so much potential down there. I'm like, guys, I don't think that's a good idea. I'm like, I think I can get it going again. And they're like, if you want to do it and you want to put the effort in it, go ahead. We'll give you 6 months. If it's not turned around in 6 months, we're getting rid of it. We're selling it, or we're just closing it. So I basically lived down there, separated myself from my family. I was married, and I think I had my first daughter at that point. And I was down there 4 days a week, staying in hotels, and got it profitable, got the customers back. I mean, it was mismanaged. The guy that was running it he wasn't professional. He treated everybody like junk and thought he was better than everybody. So I just had to change the culture and, gain the trust of the customers back. And I did it fairly quick. And, the thing turned out to be a success. So I'm happy that happened. But, yeah, I guess I really started taking it over. In 2012, they elected me president. My dad was starting to lose interest. He was tired of fighting it all the time and having the stress. And he was wanting to sell it. But he's like, I know you want it. I'll keep it if you want to run it and take it over. So I was doing it. And it was killing me because I didn't have the education behind me. I didn't have the right people around me. I was trying to run all the different departments, 2 locations, and try to manage cash flows. And I mean, it was just looking back, like, I don't really know how I did it. I didn't, there's no quit. I didn't quit. I just kept going. And, my wife, she's a saint. She really is. She's a structure of her family. And she's the one that kept me, in line and kept me going straight. And it wasn't even, hey, you got to do this. It was, she always just had my back. Like, she knew when I was stressed out, when I came home, she would try to support that. But she's like, you don't have to do this. We don't need it. And I'm like, yeah, but if I can just get through this period, this thing, like, I will not have to do this forever. And we'll be able to reap the benefits. And she didn't really know what my vision was. She couldn't understand it. And I would say probably around 2019 is when my vision came true. My dad, he sold me the stock, bought my sisters out. They were in a trust, a beneficiary of the trust. And ever since then, I was able to, get a VP of sales and business development. I got a COO in there, got safety managers, like all these different guys that I always needed and didn't really know how to structure this. I joined Vistage in 2017, and all the different business owners are like, you need to be doing this. You need to be doing this. And they're the ones that had me start the conversation about the buyouts, So, I mean, it was a super cool journey from about 2017 to 2019. All before that was all learning and just pure grit. And then once I started learning how to run a company after I was doing it for so long and didn't know what I was doing, there is a right way to do it. And I figured out the right way. So it definitely pays off.
The story of how Vistage like truly paid off for you to change the way you think, change the way you run your company is really powerful, I think. And I really resonated with a lot of what you were saying of just the pure grit. Early on, I didn't know how to run a company, and it was just endless work, and not even thinking of like it should be another way. It's just this needs to be done, that needs to be done, and then you go to sleep, and then you wake up and boom, 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 same thing over and over and
Sure.
over.
A lot of what I thought was like, okay, I'm making it work right now. We're making money, but with all the equipment and the overhead cost of what running a recycling company cost, I'm like, this thing should be able to make a lot of money. And it was more of, how do I do this? How do I do that? And I could see where I wanted to go, but I didn't know how to do it. So when I got in Vistage, and I had people that had bigger businesses, smaller businesses, people that have failed and restarted, just guiding me like, call this guy, do this. This is a good attorney. This is a good CPA. Here's job descriptions for a CFO versus a COO. And, that was for Chat GPT came along, we're trying to figure stuff out and you got 30 options, which one's right, but yeah, I mean, that's what really helped me gain some traction and go.
That's awesome. And so being a 30-year-old with that much responsibility, I'm sure wasn't easy. Aside from your family, was there anything else you leaned on? Was it just pure grit again, or just like for me personally, like I find that sometimes you don't know what you don't know. So like the younger you are, the more naive you might be about potential risks, and then you end up taking big risks that pay off. Was there anything like that was kind of working in your favor?
Yeah, I don't think I ever really understood what we actually had, because all of our cash flows were going into receivables and inventory and just operations. And so we never had like a bunch of money in the bank. It was constantly moving, but it was investing back in the business, whether it was equipment, whatever it is. And I honestly didn't really know what we had until I hired my COO, and he's only been there for about 4 years now. And he started running, he's a CFO, COO, started running financials and saying, hey, we're healthy. We can borrow this amount. We can do this. And me and my dad kind of looked at each other like, well, hell, man, I didn't know all that hard work must have paid off. We didn't realize we had all this equity and we could do all this. So I'm like, all right, now I can fulfill my vision. And I always thought my vision was going to be the next generation if it was able to go another one. And currently, like, I'm living my dream right now, doing my vision actively as we speak. And it's scary because it is a lot of risk. It's a lot of debt. But honestly, like, I'm very heavy in my faith and I just put it in God's hands. And, God, if it's going to work, that's great. If it's not going to work. I'll go find something else, but it's going to be a hell of a ride. That's all I know.
I love it. That I think is a great perspective to have, and not getting too attached to the outcome, I think helps in a weird way, helps the outcome when you're not just worried about what can go wrong.
And I always was scared of what could go wrong. What if I'm going to lose this? And up until recently, I had to. I mean, it was still an internal struggle that always ate at me. I couldn't sleep. It was always on my mind. I'd wake up in the middle of the night, and I had to come to peace with it. And once you do that, you can become more focused and your head's clear. And, you just got to understand that you don't know what tomorrow brings. Enjoy it and give it as much as you can while you got it, because who knows what will happen tomorrow.